Welcome. Thanks everyone for coming. I'm Ryan Woodings, founder of MetaGeek, and I have Trent Cutler here. Trent does all our tech support and customer education and everything, and he's going to be running kind of a lot of the demos in the background. This is all our contact information.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. Most of you were here last year, but for those of you that are new, kind of want to go over kind of how MetaGeek started. Let's go one more. So this is me, 2005. I was working at a large company, working on firmware for wireless mice and keyboards, getting tired of it. So I started making the Wi-Spy on nights and weekends. First one sold December 2005, and this is what the software looked like. If any of you ever used it, it was really, really simple. It reminded me of like old Atari games. I always wanted to do sort of the Moon Patrol, have like Easter egg where little like spaceships would come down.
That would have rocked.
It would have rocked. At that time, it was just me part-time, and the company sort of evolved from there. Self-funded, bootstrapped company. Today, we have much better-looking software, more sophisticated, does a lot more stuff than back in 2005. We just moved into a new office a couple months ago. It's amazing, downtown Boise. And
Which is huge. It's a big town.
Huge town. Yeah. 21 employees. I think last year when we guys talked to you guys, we were like at 14. So we've grown a little bit since last year, and lots of good stuff in the works. So we're going to dive into to our products.
Okay.
Whoa, that was quick.
Yep, we're done.
Done.
Oprah moment.
You guys, we're not that. Okay.
All right. First thing we're going to show you is just some updates to Insider. Insider's our free network scanner, and I don't know if you guys have used it. It's free, open source. We didn't do any updates for about a year, and so we're just releasing a new update. This is going to come out probably on Monday. Couple main things that we did. As you know, this is just a table of all the networks that you can see, and if you're in any big city like Boise, this list gets really long. We have customers in New York where you're seeing 300, 400, 1,000 access points, and there's no way that you can have any idea what's going on in this list. It's just too many. And so we worked on filters. I'm going to squeeze up here. Up here we have filters, and you can filter on your SSID, you can filter on channel, what type of security they have, and it's really easy. On the SSID you can do an include or exclude, and so just really quick and easy filters to narrow down that list to just look at the networks that you care about.
Right. Just so you know, I've had several customers that I've recommended this tool to who all absolutely love it.
Awesome. That's what we like. So, and hopefully this is just makes it that much better to use. And that's pretty much the change. We did a couple color changes and tried to make things a little bit easier to use, but pretty much it's the filters. And that should be rolling out on Monday. Where's the Mac? That is coming next. We're actually starting the Mac version of Insider Monday is sprint planning. So Monday is sprint planning, and that will start. We already have mock-ups, but those are under wraps. Yeah, we've had a lot of requests for Insider on Mac, Insider on iPad, but we can't get the Wi-Fi data on the iOS, and Insider on Android. So we're going to start working on the Mac, and the Android one is coming. So. Cool. Okay, let's roll to Channelizer. All right. There's a lot of stuff going on. Like 20 minutes ago, this was pretty much empty over here. Not a lot.
We can actually show you what it looked like.
Yeah. Before you guys arrived.
Us, right?
Yeah, this is what it was before you guys got here. A little bit of stuff going on, and then you guys walk in the door and it gets busy, and now it's just slammed. And that's probably, is the video going wireless anywhere? It's all just straight network? Yeah. So we'll talk about the spike later. Last time at Wireless Field Day 1, we were talking about doing color by duty cycle, which we have rolled out. We renamed the duty cycle to utilization, since duty cycle is kind of an odd term for random signals.
Cool. Who's doing that? Look at that. Look at that.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Sam Clemens. Sam Clemens.
I forgot.
Know what we're talking about.
I like that.
Yeah.
hold it up. Hold it up.
Yeah, what do you got?
Let's see it. So he's got a little jammer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
And, you know, let me pause that. Because
Yeah.
that is awesome.
Can I see it? Sorry.
Really?
I just want to look at it. It's so cool.
So cool.
So what?
Exactly.
Oh no, you both got little jammers.
Wow. That's awesome.
There's more than just these in the room.
So he takes that out of his backpack on
Okay.
the plane and shows
Hey guys, I can't tweet anymore.
And the guy in the middle seat starts looking at both of us.
Okay.
An air marshal.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so the color regularization is amazing because you can just tell immediately, like, it was super active across the entire band.
Couldn't say it was messing with you.
And roll back to before that went on.
Okay, so that's what it looked like.
Yeah, so you can see there's a bunch of stuff going on in channel 1, and then all of a sudden it's like, boom.
And the color by utilization is based on your time window. So if you have a smaller time window, which you can go all the way down to 10 seconds if you want, and you can jump to any point in time in the history to see what it looks like. And this will update all of your channels tables here with your utilization and your grade here. And every single channel, you probably can't see it, but every single channel gets a grade of a 0. And it has very high utilization of about 80% on every channel. But, I mean, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And the color by utilization, so the red means if utilization or duty cycle, as you guys want to call it that, it's if it's 50% or greater. So if it's red, that means you know it's 50%. What's nice about this is you know the amplitude level of what is 50% or greater immediately. So you don't need that threshold anymore. You can see, you know, that right here at this point, that little spike has 50% at that amplitude instead of having an arbitrary threshold. So this is kind of a way of saying we're just going to show you duty cycle at whatever amplitude is there. So.
Do you want to roll to the utilization tab
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
So the utilization tab down here, this is more like a typical duty cycle where there's a specific threshold and it's either above or below. And so we can adjust the threshold. So this is the percentage of time that's over that threshold. Right now is -80. And as we move the threshold up and up and up, you can see how the sort of duty cycle is at that threshold. And right now at -45, the utilization, this one little spike is still really high because we're looking at right up here on the amplitude. What's the duty cycle at that point? And so this one spike is super high and everything else is pretty quiet. And so this allows you a quick adjustment where some of the air magnet and some of the other tools, they have like a fixed value, so you can adjust this to kind of match whatever those tools are giving you, kind of see if, you know, if they're lining up.
Do they publish specs on that so you can easily compare it?
I think you can ask them. I think Andrew's asked them before.
I have asked Cisco, and Cisco actually, depending on if you have a Cisco Spectrum X version 1 versus version 2, they have a different threshold. Version 1, I think, was like an neg 85 or neg 90, something like that threshold, and they changed it in version 2 to just be the noise floor, whatever the noise floor is. So, you know, it's not that easy, and you kind of have to ask the TME what's going on, what's the threshold, and it's not easy information to get though.
Yeah.
And I have no idea on everything.
Yeah, so we just sort of assumed, like, let you guys figure out what duty cycle threshold you want, and then with the color by utilization, it's pretty obvious to kind of see where little spikes pop out and other things like that. So we leave it up to you. Anything else on that?
I said I was going to, but
Session manager?
Yeah, we can do that.
Cool.
you're doing this for router and district. Got the market cornered.
Okay, another thing that we did. Do you have your hardware config too?
Yep.
So we added a session manager. We're recording everything in the background, and before, as you changed hardware configurations and everything, it was recording different sessions into the file, but it was really difficult to go back and replay them. And so now, as you zoom in, you change your hardware configuration. So now we're just looking at closer to just the spike. You can see we have two different sessions. The one with the green like recording light is the one that's going right now. And if we click the other one, we could basically play that one and see what it looked like before.
For example, so I'm looking at the history, the last session that I did while I am currently recording right now. with a 2.4x, and I've got a DBX plugged in as well, and I can go into the 5 gigahertz to do simultaneous capture. So right now I'm doing a 5 gigahertz and a 2.4. They're capturing simultaneously while I can also open up a previous session at any kind of frequency range.
If Trent's MacBook Pro had another USB port, we'd plug in the 900X too, but you could plug in, I mean, your machine's going to start slowing down after a while, but you could plug in 3, 4, 5 if you needed to. Obviously, the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz doing simultaneous is the main thing.
Yeah, I've had 10 Wi-Fi's going at a time, so I mean.
Demo failed.
No, it's actually this Wi-Fi.
Channelizer is this the latest one?
Yeah, it's the one that is available. Unfortunately.
Okay.
Yay!
Did you want to?
Okay, next time, top hat and cane.
Okay, all right.
You got a cane? I got a cane.
Will it not die?
It's not even.
Do you want to do the device finder experiment?
Yeah. Oh, wait,
Okay.
I'm back. I'm back.
You're back?
I'm back.
Okay.
This DBX never even initialized, so.
Just so you know, awesome demo fail is totally acceptable.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll probably have more later on.
We've got a lot of new stuff that
Yeah.
we're really excited about. Okay, so we're back. You know. Okay. We showed the sessions.
Yeah, we're still in sessions.
Sessions were cool.
Sessions are cool. Multiple devices are cool. Your fun recordings?
Yeah. Okay. Last time we talked about Soundelier, that was probably the weirdest and coolest that we've seen in a while. But since then, I've had a few recent recordings that I thought I would share because you guys are the professionals. You run into kind of interesting things all the time. So if I can show you a few examples, and you may be like, oh, I've seen something like that before. Are you serious?
This one. Joe.
Okay. Here is what version am I running? Okay. Here's a fun baby monitor. This is nice because it takes up about half of the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. Yeah, and the nice thing about the Wi-Fi recordings is we've got the Wi-Fi data that goes in as well. So it may be hard to see, but we have where the wireless network is, the current BSS ID is on the channel, and we can see kind of, hey, that doesn't look like what it should look like. But as we track it over time, I can enlarge my window and see the signal strength over that entire window of time. And we can see that whoever was making this recording was getting closer and further to whatever it was. And eventually at some point, he kind of he's walking around to try and find it. So you can watch him getting closer to the AP. So I know when he is near it, one of his APs, we can see the amplitude levels in the waterfall here. They got pretty close to it. And yes?
GPS integration?
Not yet. What would you do with it?
Well, if you know what the signal strength was and you have that coordinates of GPS as somebody was walking as well,
Yeah.
so you know when they were closest to it and you know the GPS of when they were closest to it, then
Right.
you know where it was.
Well, people
But
do
but
Wi-Fi
indoor,
outdoors.
yeah, outdoors it's good. But most of our people are indoors,
I use
and you're usually
True.
indoors. So
I used it to analyze a fire type network, which does really goofy things
Oh.
at Layer 1. And we basically had to write a script to be able to look at what we were, where we were, when we were.
Uh-huh.
So I think that it would actually get a lot of calls.
Insider has GPS integration. So
Oh, it does?
yeah,
yeah, Insider does.
yeah. You just plug in a GPS. It has to be the
But
NMEA.
Yeah, but not
not
channel
this. I mean, we've experimented with it. So I've seen a
Yeah.
GPS into the Wi-Fi recording database. We just aren't sure if people would actually do it. But
Right.
here, this is the cool part, and I showed this last year with the Soundelier. But you can see these two horizontal lines, and all of you guys have used a spectrum analyzer, but this usually means that you have seen an amplitude increase. You're close to it, you've probably walked by it. So he walked by it, he found it, and it was a baby monitor. And what it was someone was using their iPad wasn't working, but they also had the baby monitor. So they're doing both at the same time, like, this iPad doesn't work, and it's the baby monitor right next to it.
Was it Chris?
Okay, here's another one that is also fun. So here is, this is Wi-Fi and a Soundcast having issues with each other. And it's the same concept as the baby monitor and the Wi-Fi, but in this time it's the, did I say Soundcast? I meant the Sonos. This is a Sonos and Wi-Fi. So he's right next to it. And when they tell you to place your APs more than, certain feet apart, I think they say 6, but this is your Wi-Fi spilling over onto the other guy. And that's what it looks like when it happens, and they will have issues. And so whenever he's right next to his Sonos, my Sonos doesn't work anymore.
So the Sonos is on channel 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I always like to change the time frame and kind of...
Always gets me like, oh, it's right next to the router.
Yeah. What's also cool about this capture is once they start, the Wi-Fi activity stopped, we actually can see. So this is ERP-OFDM is that flat top shape. So if you are familiar with the type of modulation, but we can actually see once things stopped, it goes into beaconing mode. So you see, your little bursty things. But because the AP is beaconing and the client is close to the Wi-Fi, so we see the beaconing here, and this is the curve at the lower modulation rate. And you can see the client with the higher, so we can kind of see both. And it's nice to see that, both shapes there, and then also the spillover onto this other guy here.
Let me get a picture of that.
Sure.
Trent, do you want to show me the color by anything on this one? Could be interesting.
Color by...
Because we don't really talk about any of that stuff.
I'm not going to bring it up.
So this is just, before we had color by utilization, this was the main view, the color by density, and it still pops it out. And so we just made it really easy to toggle the different colorations, because the different colorations sort of bring out different aspects. And so if you go back to the color by density,
these are all your display options up at the top. So we allow you to just choose whatever you want. Like if you are a Boise State fan like me, you can actually say, I want a custom color of blue as my max, and fill it and turn that on. So you have whatever ranges of colors you want. But that's also pretty fun, because now it's all about me.
I love that about what you guys are doing there, because any spectrum analysis, one perspective is never enough. And getting a whole perspective from different viewpoints and different ways of plotting the data and visualizing the data gives you the whole picture of what's actually going on. So that kind of stuff is just, it's excellent.
Yeah,
cool, thanks.
It's really good stuff.
And the time frame really helps with because if you have a large window of time, it's also going to change what the density view looks like, or the color by utilization. So you have full control of that too. That's another kind of dimension that you have control over. Okay. Okay. Here is one. This is actually, we'll turn on the color by utilization because it's my favorite. And this is a pretty long recording, and I'm probably going to cause some sort of disaster again. Awesome. Okay.
You do have inside running too.
Oh. Yeah. Sometimes they fight for the Wi-Fi adapter.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one is a bunch of wireless guitars and mics. So there's a company called Line 6, and they basically have those adapters that you put in the guitar, and then it sends it to the amp, or it's a mic or anything, and they use the Wi-Fi in their QA testing, so they can see all of the other things they are going to obliterate. But this is a great recording. I doubt any of you guys would do it, except do any of you do like the concert Wi-Fi?
I did a studio where
So,
there was a lot of
okay.
this kind of stuff.
So they found out about a Wi-Fi because someone was setting up at a concert, and their stuff was crashing the Wi-Fi because they obviously obliterate whatever they feel like. But this is fun because you see the duty cycle or the utilization across the bottom, just random spikes going across, and that's going all the way up to, well, let's check. So
because that's not like a hopper; it's doing them all at the same time.
Yeah.
it's about -75, and it is not a hopper.
No frequency.
This is several ones. Usually it's pairs of 2. So there's about seven of them turned on.
Oh, okay, that makes
Okay.
sense.
And they try to guess which is least noisy, but he says that they don't do that great of a job. So
Have you guys looked into OEMing into some of this stuff so that it can do the channel planning? Like OEMing your chipset into some of these devices? Or are they just popping open a laptop at every show?
Well, a lot of doing that. We actually OEM into Box TV, BOXX. They do, I think they're in England, and they do all the setups for like reality TV. And so they have like multiple cameras all going wireless. And the back of their box actually has a Wi-Fi port. And you plug in the Wi-Fi and it does all the spectrum analysis. So that's the only one we've done so far.
Okay. And then it uses the data to automatically check, or are they doing it manually?
I'm not sure.
this capture is, you can see we have multiple sessions. What's interesting about this one is I didn't have them all plugged in. This was a capture at Interop we did with Sputniks. So the Sputnik was what Ryan showed off last time, which was the remote Wi-Fi. And you plug in you type in your IP address and then it'll log in. So we can view several different locations in one recording. So here is the Interop trade show, and this is the 5 gigahertz, so you can see all of those channels being used there. Some of them are more utilized than others, and you can see that with the color red. So those are the not the greatest channels to choose if you were going to put something on the 5 gigahertz, obviously. We can also check the 2.4 in different locations. So some of these are plugged in at the presentation locations, and some of the 2.4 gigahertz was kind of crazy. And that's pretty much, I just wanted to show some like interesting captures so you guys can get a feel, you know, as you take I know a lot of you have Wi-Fi's and some of you don't. I'm sorry, Blake.
Here, I have an extra one.
But you know what, Blake, just hang tight. One thing that Blake, I listened to the No Strings Attached show, and I just wanted to compliment Blake on a comment that he made. But he was talking about doing site surveys, and he made a very good point that I wanted to reiterate. And when he does a site survey with a spectrum analyzer, he says he does it very differently because he's letting the spectrum analyzer kind of guide the way he goes. So when he sees something interesting, he looks at his amplitude level and he's like, whoa, I want to find that. What is that? And sometimes when you do site surveys with, for example, like the Ekahau guys, you go in, you make sure you have the signal strength coverage and the throughput. You're not actively looking for interference. And when you guys are out doing your jobs, you want to be a little bit more proactive for interference so you can find those things and you don't have as many callbacks. So that's all I have. But thanks, Blake.
Do you want to pull device finder experiment?
Sure.
Okay. We're going to switch screens here really quick. So along with the jammer that you have, we actually have a jammer going over here too. It's very narrow band. We just want to show off the device finder and our directional antenna. And we've had some feedback from some other people about using directional antennas versus omni antennas and how directionals get you off. Yes. Yeah, so a lot of directional antennas have a lot of side lobes on their antenna patterns, and we have a really, really good RF guy who designed this so there are no side lobes. There's one main lobe and then there's a back lobe, but your back lobe is blocked by your computer screen. So pretty much you just have a nice front lobe. And so besides the multipath issues, which you're always going to have, there shouldn't be any other side lobe issues with our directional antenna. So Trent's going to just demo that really quick. So this guy over here is ours, and we put it in the room somewhere.
Yeah. One thing that is different, and we mentioned this last year, but we don't do device finding by identification. We do it by amplitude levels. And so how you do that is you just highlight the little section that you want, and you click device finder. And this creates a line graph over time. So as you are aiming away or towards something, you'll see the line graphs jump up or down. I'm going to shrink the time window a little bit so we can see that a little bit. Okay, am I standing in front of it? Okay. Okay. So as I pointed this way, we can see that I've aimed towards that signal generator on, around channel 11, and if I were to move away, it'll drop down. We can actually see it bounce. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We get that complaint a lot.
Okay. Well, we'll let you guys experiment. We've got kind of an open lab thing that we want to do. We'll let you guys experiment with it. And we have another generator there, so you'll be able to see it on your screen. One thing, when you are out using a directional antenna, as with any kind of spectrum analyzer, you're going to have stuff bouncing off the walls, so pay attention to that. That's why Keith Parsons said that, as well as the side lobes. But indoors, stuff will bounce off the wall. So if I point this way, I may see a bit of an increase because it's bouncing. I have it in this corner here. So there's a signal generator there. When I point this way, we'll see it increase a little bit. And we can also see it kind of bounce this way too. It'll drop here, but as I go this way, it'll increase. So that is how the device finder experiment, device finding works in the Channelizer software. It's not going to be great for finding Wi-Fi type stuff, things that are packet based, because it's 20 megahertz wide, and you don't know how often it's going to be. But anything that's got a high utilization or high duty cycle, you'll be able to find it a little bit better.
Which is really the thing we're looking for.
Right. I mean, that's why you have spectrum analysis, is because you need to find it. And having good tools that help you find it, whether it's a functioning amplitude waterfall history, if you've got that, if you've got a directional antenna or something, as long as you can find it, you've got a good tool. I feel, the device identification, which is something we lack in, it's going to be a hint, but you still need to find it regardless. So, that's the bottom line with spectrum analysis, I feel like.